Hello friends, you're with the Lonesome Gamer, and I'm still playing 1829. And it's getting toward the end. The first 7 train, the most expensive train, came out. We are now in phase 4, which allows also the grey tiles. But still a lot of money in the bank. These are, I don't know, I mean, it's hard to estimate. These are about 8,000. These are maybe 3,000. So these alone are 11,000. Probably 2 more. And there might be some money in here that also belongs in here. So I guess it's between 14 and 15,000, which is still in the bank. This is a lot of money. In addition, there's this one here, which will be purchased. That brings another 900 into the bank. So I think the game will still go for a few operating rounds. There's no doubt about that. Probably, I would estimate maybe 2 more cycles or something like that. It seems to me right now that this guy might be in the lead. Just an estimation. He holds this big one here, 720. He has a massive pile of cash of 800. And also the Liverpool and Manchester for 210. So that alone is a big amount of money. He also has good amount of shares. No shares of the LNWR, which is the most expensive one by far, though. Still, I think he might be in the lead. It's hard to estimate in this game. This guy also, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy is actually in the lead. But there might be surprises. He's also sitting on a lot of shares with the presidencies and that. He's got this one here for 570, which isn't bad, and also about 600 bucks. So yeah, and this guy here holding 4 shares of the LNWR, each one worth 250. But he doesn't hold a private. He doesn't have a shipping company. Sitting on 600 bucks. Well, hard to tell. My bets for now go on this guy, which is weird because he's just an investor and he just is controlling these guys as a manager here. So it's interesting. Okay, so we're going to do a stock round first, and well, I mean, the GCR, there are basically just 2 companies shares out there, the GCR and the SECR. The SECR is a disaster. There's just about 100 bucks in there. So no way to get a train. It's in a pretty bad shape down here. So I don't really think someone will actually buy this. More interesting is this one here. We got about 400 bucks in here in the GCR. And it has a fairly good connection. It can, for example, go here to, I mean, it's not that great, but it can definitely run a very solid 4 train, for example. So it could be an option for some players to invest in some of these shares then maybe let the price drop a little, bring it up again, drop, bring it up, something like that. At the moment it's worth 38, so that means it counts against the share limit, which is the problem. So therefore, maybe some players are willing to buy just a few shares so that it stays in that it remains in receivership, and then in the next operating round, when there's enough money in here to buy a train, or when it even might have a train already, then they might be in an advantage to get the presidency over the company. So I checked the rules, and company will go out of receivership as soon as there are less than 6 shares in the bank pool, and the first player holds 2 shares. Then that player immediately becomes the new president. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This guy will actually buy the first share of the GCR for 38 bucks. And I assume that now quite a few people will do the same. There's no reason to keep the money for something better. The only question is, will people be interested in selling other shares? And that is something I doubt. So it depends a lot on the certificate limit now. Remember, the privates don't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there's a lot here. How much was that? It's 38. And there we go. Similar thing happens here, obviously. Whoop. Well, actually, the share should go up here. And then this guy also purchases a share for 38. There we are. And now it's him, and he has a lot of money. So what he does is he buys the Dover instead for 900 bucks. If he doesn't, this guy will do so. So there we go. Gives him a revenue of 45. That is definitely not bad. And I guess we see, yeah, he will definitely also buy a share of the GCR. If he has still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, yeah, he can afford one more. Okay, there we go. And this guy will do the same. Brings it to 40. There we go. So now every player owns exactly a single share of the GCR, which means it is still in receivership. And yeah, it will remain there. He holds priority, so for him it's okay. Next stock round, he will be the new president. But we gotta make sure that this actually works out. Because from now we are in the gray phase. We have 4 operating rounds between the stock rounds. We can see now 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that shit. On a 0, the thing will immediately drop. So that is a risk. Maybe it's not a good idea. Should have thought about that. I thought it'd say as long as it's just a... I thought it as long as it... Yeah, I didn't remember that there were 4 operating rounds. I thought it was only 3, and then it would have perfectly turned out. So now the question is... do we want to take the company anyway? We want to take it out of receivership. Maybe move one of the trains in there. Shit, what's actually going to happen is he's already at 14 when it comes to the certificate limit. He's not be willing to sell, to sell certificates. This guy definitely also won't do it because he only holds a single train in each company. He could consider it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, for him it might actually be interesting. He could buy a few more shares. Bring a single train into the other company. And then maybe that's not such a bad idea. Yeah, he could, for example, take the train here of the GWR and move it into the other company. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So yes, I'm gonna buy another share for 61 bucks. Which then makes me the president. So that means now, actually of course it was not 61 but only 38. That means now this guy here is the new director with 3 shares. And we got a share here, 2 shares here, another one here, and this guy also managed to get 3 shares. So, there's nothing else to buy. The SECR is worthless, and therefore we're going to go into the next cycle of operating rounds, and this time it's going to be 4 of them. So we are kind of in the middle of the operating round. Few brown tiles got, a few gray tiles got laid. For example, this here got upgraded, which gives the GWR an advantage. It could run for 34 overall with their 2 trains. London would also upgrade it. We have these here more in the north, and Manchester was upgraded. We had runs. Let me see here, the GER, the blue line. Yeah, they are not that great. They basically went simply from London year 1, 2, 3, 4. They made about 18. That was the weakest run out there. Then we got the 2 lines of this guy, the GNR and the Midland, which basically run the same route from here over Birmingham. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They both have a 5 train, and considering that they only have a single 5 train, they're making a good amount of money. 25, so that's a good average. 5 per city basically, that's a lot. And the LBS-C down here has a 4 and a 7 train, and it was not possible for them to really run them in a reasonable way. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All these shitty cities here, the 20, this 20, 230 cities, not really great. And the 4 train went 1, 2, 3, and that's basically it. So because they can only go to here, there is no connection possible here. An option would be at some point try to make it all the way here, right? Maybe into this city here, and then this becomes also accessible. So maybe we're gonna work on that at some point, but we were all busy upgrading at the moment. So they were, although they had this massive train resources, they only managed to get 300. The GWR, as I already said, they ran for 34. One train basically from here, from Birmingham, I think to... No, that's actually not correct. The big one, the 5 train, went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just like this. And the 4 train started in London. And this time they managed to upgrade this, so they could go directly north. Before it was just possible like this. Now they can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So they made 34, which is a good amount of money. And eventually the LSWR was running with a 4 and a 5 train for 37. I think that train here from London then went north 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the 4 train was probably 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, then they all paid out, obviously. And now we come to the GCR. This guy here, the new one, which is in receivership. Well, they upgraded this tile here, basically helping the GWR. They might be able then to make a run here into Liverpool. If they go like this, that would be cool for them. And then they're not going to pay out because they don't own a train. But now they're going to buy the 5 train of the GWR. For basically everything. Does that make sense? No, maybe not quite. Maybe we want some money left for going here across the river and stuff. So maybe I shouldn't go that high. Maybe I'm gonna go... Yeah, I think I should leave them... Should leave 50 bucks, 50 bucks in here. And... So there is now 340 bucks in there. Yeah, that's also not that great. The problem is fuck, I mean I could also buy, but then I cannot make this beautiful. Maybe I should buy the 4 train of the LBSC, because they can swallow and make a lot of money with a single run with their 7 train. Yeah, I think that makes actually more sense. So yeah, I think I want to do that. It's a little bit of a shame, but I think it's better. So I'm gonna buy that 4 train, which means I cannot quite go here. I can only go from here 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's still something. Otherwise I'm gonna have to make too many swallows to get another train, and that kind of sucks. Okay, so yeah, that's it then for these guys, and we're gonna go with the with this one here in the north. They have a 4 train. They're gonna upgrade Liverpool, obviously. So we're gonna move that, for example, here. And there we go. That's a big one, 7T. That's a really valuable city now. And yeah, we might be able to make a good run if we don't go through this, but instead 1, 2, 3, 4, we can basically go from Manchester, Liverpool, that dot here, and then Birmingham. That gives us a good amount of money, 220 with a 4 train. That's really a good income. So I went after, I don't know, something like 5 hours of play or so. Maybe not quite, no, not quite that much, but let's say it might have been 4 hours. I went through the next set of ORs, 4 ORs this time. Takes me about an hour or so to play an OR, and the main problem is simply to the payout. I've already mentioned that. Every player is holding shares of nearly every company. So it's not like, okay, this guy gets 60%, this guy 30%, and 10 are in the bank pool. You got to pay out every single player. And that, of course, takes its time. In addition, I really try to improve the map, which looks pretty awesome, you know, all these colored tiles, and it's a pretty interesting and fun map. The problem is just we're now at a point, since a few ORs already, that it would be still cool to do some additional routes, and there would be definitely options to do tricky route building and so on. But there is only a limited amount of tiles left, especially the brown tiles. Basically, we have only 3 more non-city brown tiles, and also some key tiles of the greens, like for example, I think this one. They are all in use. So and you cannot upgrade these green cities, which is also another issue. You know, you cannot. Yeah, they are not upgradable to brown. So that kind of blocks also the development of the routes. That's a little bit of a shame, to be honest. If I have a game which goes massively into this route building like this one does, I would have wished a little more options, you know, than just, I mean, of course, it is also kind of important that you have restrictions when it comes to tile placement. But now I have to go through a number of ORs, and it's basically impossible to improve the routes. Another thing which is a little sad here is that you cannot hit these cities twice. You know, it would make things, I think, more interesting if you, for example, could go like this and then like this and then go south again and stuff. That would be cool. Or also you can, it would open up also more possibilities. And this way doesn't really work. But okay, I counted the bank again, and a few $100 went from the main bank into the company credits bank, but now I adjusted that, corrected that, and so I'm not totally sure. We have now about, what was it? Let me see. That was kind of 2,000, 3,000, 4. Yeah, it was about $5,000 are left in the bank. I make about an average of 2,500 per operating round, maybe a little less. So I basically expect 3 more ORs. And I think I'm going to do them simply on paper. I don't see a lot of options here left. Right now it seems like, yeah, it's this player here with the 3 companies, he's doing pretty good. He's sitting now at 2,370 something, and but his shares are not the most valuable. He's got the 570 Holy Hat. Think this guy is too far behind. He's got about 1,875. The Preston 435. Also these 2 companies which are not super valuable, 160. The shares are also not that great. I mean, they're okay, but they're not awesome. This guy is doing very well. He's sitting on 2,000, well, close to 2,500. He's got the Harwich for 720, the Liverpool Manchester for 210. And solid shares, let me say it that way. He's not invested in the best shares, though. And this is the strength in this player's position. He holds about, well, close to 2,000. He does not have any privates or shipping companies or something, but he holds 4 shares of these most valuable ones. And that is definitely a good thing. This guy, he's also fine. He's actually doing also really well. 2,400. The hull isn't too great for 300, but he also holds a bunch of valuable shares. So yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. It seems we're all pretty close at the moment. Nobody's totally fallen behind at that point. At least that's what I feel. But yeah, we're going to see about that. So I guess I'm going to go now to the end. Let me show you the routes before I do the rest on paper. So the LNWR has a 5 train, and it's running here in the north. So they basically go from here, from Liverpool, just like this, take that dot, sadly, here to Birmingham, and then finish here in that 40 city, and they're making 260 with a 5 train. I think that's a good run. And the GWR is making by far the best run. They have a 4 and a 5 train. So let me see, with the 4 train, yeah, they're basically going here from London, like this, I think. And with the 5 train, it is from here. Wait a minute, I don't want to mess. Yeah, exactly, they go like this. Here's a connection now, here, and then north here to Liverpool. So they're hitting a ton of the important spaces here, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. And yeah, that gives them a lot of money. They run for 430. So overall, the runs are actually not too impressive for now in this game, but I don't know, maybe that a few companies hold 2 trains, but nobody holds, for example, a 7 train and a 5 train. You know, we got only 5 and 4s, for example. Okay, anyway, the Midland and the Great Northern, they run for the same amount of money, the same route. They go here, basically just like this. They have both a 5 train, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They both run for 250. The London and Southwestern, they also have 2 trains, but they cannot really run them that great. One goes from London down here, and then north here, here, and here. But they gotta meet 2 not upgradable green cities and a dot with that train, so that's not too great. The 4 train goes from this 50 city here, kind of like this, then here, and then into this one here. So he's making overall 370. The what is that? The Brighton, London, Brighton, and South Coast. They have a 7 train, which is also feels a little bit also like a waste. They go from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is their route. Sadly, they can only hit this gray city here and none of the big cities. And especially the fact that they don't have access to London is obviously, that really sucks for them. Next is the GER, the Great Eastern. They're not doing well. They have a 4 train. Yeah, if they want to take London, they basically got to go like this, which kind of sucks for them, right? I mean, it's the green city, the yellow dot, but the other options aren't any better. I mean, yeah. No, there are no better options for them, I think. That would be 100. If they go like this and then down here, let me see, that's actually 110, 140, 180. What was their result until now? Yeah, it's the same. So yeah, there is no better result. They only run for 18. Yeah, not too great. We have the Grand Central up here. They have a solid run with a single train for 24, which goes, let me see, it's a 4 train. Yeah, they go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's okay. They hit 2 big cities, Birmingham. They're in a good shape here. And last we have the Lancashire and Yorkshire, and yeah, they are not in the best position. Their problem is they have a 4 train but can only hit 3 cities because you cannot end in a. They could actually try to upgrade this. Maybe they can do that, and then they can take another city there. But now it doesn't really work because there is no connection here. So basically, they can only run from here like this. These 3 cities, and that's it. Because they cannot stop in a dot. A dot cannot be a terminus here. So that means they can only run for 18, and that's it. And I forgot that here the I don't know, that the 10 company dropped down again, and which one was that? The Southeastern, and they closed last turn. So the dot was removed and the money went back into the bank, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to go through the last stock round. Well, yeah, obviously we have now a stock round, but nobody's going to do anything here. Nothing is left, nothing is available, only the SECR, which are closed, so they're not available anyway. Okay, and I'm going to go through the last couple of ORs and then let you know the result. So I'm not quite ready yet, although basically yes I am. I mean, I didn't calculate everything out yet. What I did is I kind of spreadsheeted now the 3 last ORs, and so basically I now know the money that everybody holds. It's kind of interesting to see that 3 of the 4 players basically had the same income each turn. We're talking about 1272, 1284, and 1290. So these were this guy here with the presidency of the LNYR and the Dover, for example. Then this guy here, the investor, and the owner of the LNWR, the most valuable company, at least in share value. So they already all had more or less the same income. One guy was falling a little behind. The player here on top. It's kind of interesting because he holds 2 companies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He is not quite at his share limit though. So he could have had 1 more certificate. That definitely would have helped him. He holds the Preston, which gives him an advantage though. But he's holding a few weaker shares like the... Yeah, I mean, the GER is not terribly good. The GCR is also not performing really well. LNYR, right? So he's not too much invested in the real good companies, actually. The 2 best performing players, or the 2 players with the most income, 1,380 was this guy here, and the other one had 1,470 per turn. So this is not too much of a surprise. He is sitting on 3 companies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Interestingly though, he's also not at his certificate limit, but he has still quite a lot of shares because they all give double the income, and he is invested pretty heavily into the most successful companies. He holds 3 shares of the GWR, which is the best company. The next best is the LSWR. So yeah, these 2 companies are performing the best at the moment. So he holds 6 shares of them. That probably gives him an advantage. The Holy Hat for 35 is also not bad. And yeah, so that one isn't doing too great, but still it's, yeah. And yeah, this guy here, I mean, he holds also shares of the really good companies, GWR, 2 shares, 4 shares of the LSWR, so also 6 shares of these best performing companies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He is at his share limit, at his certificate limit. He's got the hull for 25. So yeah, that he is performing pretty good. Let's see who's got the most money. And that's also pretty close. The most money has that guy here at the moment with the 3 companies, who has also the highest income, so no big surprise here. 3,846. Then it's this guy here, 3,791 with the second highest income. But very close is also the investor with 3,733. He's doing also really well. And then we have a gap. Then it's this guy here, the owner of the most valuable company, who is at the moment at 3,253. And then even further behind are these 2 players here. That guy here with the LNYR, 3,091. And that guy is doing the worst with only 3,004. So now I'm going to calculate the share values, and do I expect any surprises? It is still hard to say. Hard to tell. Yeah, I mean, this guy is the owner of the Harwich and the Liverpool and Manchester. So I definitely, even though he is only 3rd at the moment in overall money, I think that could help him to catch up. He holds these valuable shares. Maybe he makes also a leap. And I don't know about these other 2 guys. I mean, he's also in good shape. We'll see. It's going to be interesting, I guess. So we have a winner, and it is a little bit of a surprise. I think it's the investor. So it's the first time I've ever seen that an investor actually won the game here. That was pretty impressive. 7,312. Next player is then the player who holds the most presidencies, 7,097. This guy here with his 3 companies. Then we go to this guy down here, 6,975. Solid combination of, he's at the share limit. He's one of the very few guys who is actually at the share limit. Well, although that might not be quite true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, actually, there are some that are at the share limit. But I think he holds a few valuable shares, like the LNWR, 2 of them, the GWR, 2 of them, and also some powerful companies. But it wasn't good enough. Then it's the owner of the most valuable company, this guy here. He only comes in 4th, which I find also interesting. Very often the president of the most valuable company also wins the game. He doesn't, although he is at his share limit. But he has no private, no Steam package company, and well, his combination of companies in the performance of the shares he holds are not that great. He has only a single share of the GWR, no share at all of the LSWR, so that's not so good. And the last 2 players are the well, that guy here with 6,713, so only about $60 behind that guy here. Even though he has the Dover, but overall it just wasn't good enough. I mean, the shares that he holds are, well, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Not terrible, but yeah, obviously wasn't good enough. And yeah, the last player then, 6,574. That was no surprise, is this guy up here. Although he holds 2 presidencies, but they were not performing too great, and I don't know. Well, again, I can say I'm surprised that in this game the investor manages to win, but the fact that the privates and the shipping companies do not count against the limit, the certificate limit, I think that's an important fact, and that kind of makes the extra certificates for the presidencies not that important. I mean, they still are, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so basically he's at his third limit, but then in addition he holds these 2 very valuable privates, and he gets a lot of revenue out of this one here, $40. And of course they are added at the end of the game, so that's an additional close to $1,000. That was important for him. Yeah. So, a few words about that, and there is a bit to say about that. I mean, first of all, it's not as bad as I thought. From what I've heard, I heard that it's a totally crappy game. Maybe you want to, by the way, take a look at the stock chart here, so you can see. They actually had to, the last move wasn't possible for them, so that was definitely also a small disadvantage. And then these are not too far behind, and well, yeah, you can see here now. Difference here is only 300 to 350, so it's not such big a deal. Yeah, so as I said, I think the game it's not as bad as I thought. Especially the first half of the game was pretty enjoyable. Obviously, this is a game that focuses heavily on the route building, and yeah, as I said, I kind of enjoyed that. That was definitely fun. I've heard quite a few complaints about the survey parties and that mechanism. I don't think it's that bad. Actually, I find that okay. It's kind of interesting that you're not allowed to use stations that are blocked by other people. That definitely reduces your income quite a lot. And as I already mentioned, the fact that you cannot hit these cities here twice, I don't know. I mean, this is also something that you find in other games, but when you're so much focused on the route building thing, it would open up a few more interesting variants. Also, the fact that there are not too many of these brown tiles. You know, for example, that one here only exists a single time, and this is the other one then here. These are also only there twice, and this is really a huge map, right? And also the fact that you can only upgrade these, that you cannot upgrade these anymore. These double cities here, or that one. That makes it harder to construct interesting routes. I mean, if I hadn't known that, I probably would have developed my my cities a little different, but I noticed that too late. And for that reason, we see then... oh, actually, this is illegal. Look at that. Well, fuck. Okay, anyway, we see some... I wonder if I can fix that. Well, it's too late for that now. Yeah. We see some cities like this or like this, which are not necessarily key cities, or like this, it would be more interesting to see this upgraded into a brown city, obviously, for example, or this. But yeah, as I said, the fact that that would be more profitable, and also then I could have developed these further into gray cities. But the fact that I could not upgrade them did kind of cut the map here, you know, that it was not possible to go in here for these southern railroads, which and also obviously for the northern ones it wasn't possible to go down. That had definitely some influence on the game and on the route building. Not sure if it's interesting to go into these western areas here. There are not many cities, and maybe here in the south, but the off-board areas here are also not too impressive. I mean, and that's the other thing here with these shipping ports here. You know, of course, I mean, you could go here to Dover, but do you really want to have a token there, right? Or go here? I don't know. I find it hard to invest in a token in these spaces. They are really not very profitable, and even going there would be painful enough, but placing a token there seems to me even worse, you know. I mean, you could say, okay, you can make an extra $40 if you go there, then you get the $40 for your company. That is already for me a penalty enough, but as I said, having a token there seems very painful. I mean, an option would be, obviously, you could, maybe that's interesting. Yeah, you could say, okay, I invest in a token there, and place a token there. So there are still a few companies that have tokens left. I think actually every company has not spent all their tokens. So yeah, that would be an option to say, okay, I invest in a token there, but I don't run to the city. For example, for Dover, although that could have been interesting, after 3 ORs, you got the money back for the token. So maybe that is actually an interesting choice, simply to place the token, but not use it as a part of your route. So obviously, when you play a game for the first time, there's a lot of mistakes, and I think I could have played that better, and maybe then the companies would have performed better. But yeah, anyway, I think I enjoyed the route building aspect quite a lot. But the stock market is a real issue in this game. I mean, first of all, obviously, it's a very undynamic. You know, it's just the only thing that brings it up is paying out. The only thing that brings it down is swallowing. No adjustment at the end of the stock round, especially the fact that selling shares does not bring the stock market down. I don't know. I mean, that is okay. I mean, there are other games like that, but it is definitely something that takes away some of the interesting aspects. But the biggest problem, that would be okay for me, but the biggest problem is in the game, in my opinion, the fact that you simply have to buy the shares in a totally predetermined order from the initial offer. You know, you really have to buy all 10 shares, or all 10 shares of a company have to be purchased before you can start buying all the 10 shares of the next company. And because a company cannot be dumped on you, I think that usually will lead to that situation that we see in this game here, where basically every player simply buys everything he can get. Because there's no reason not to buy it, because it's simply, there is nothing else out there, right? And so therefore you're going to invest in everything you can get, and yeah, and therefore you get a very, very, all the players are holding a very similar share, a very similar portfolio, more or less, not quite, and it becomes a very, maybe luck is not, but it because it is predetermined, but it is already, you don't have any influence about what you can buy. Of course, you could pass, and then you don't have to buy the topmost share that is sitting there, but you still cannot influence what the other players buy, and I don't know. I think there is not a real... Yeah, you have very, very little influence in what shares you can actually buy, and because the others, you cannot control what the others do. Most other games I simply can, I can buy any share out of the initial offer that I want. I can start a company, the company I want. Some games give you restrictions there. You can only start a few companies, but it's not like, okay, you can only simply buy one share out of the initial offer. And that is the fact. That is what happens here. There is only a single share available in the initial offer, and you can either buy it or not. So that usually leads you to the point where people just buying up all the shares, and the companies are not really getting much stronger or so. So I also don't see a reason why there should be a lot of trading going on in a way that you kind of sell shares to buy shares of new companies, because usually the new companies, it takes a while until they get going, and the share appreciation is often also not that high. So there is a tendency to hold on to the shares of companies that are already operating, especially if players are using new companies more as suitcases for already operating companies, which makes sense, because they have already stations on the board, they are already connected to interesting cities. So you take the money of the new companies to buy trains for your old companies. That's what usually happens. Otherwise it could be interesting. You could say, okay, the old companies are they're running out of trains, the trains rust away, so there is a reason to sell the old companies and invest in the new companies, because they have now the money, they are started, and they have now the fresh money, and they have the money to invest in new trains. But that's not how 18xx works. You use the new companies to rob them, bring the money into your already established companies, and then use that to buy better trains. And you can do that especially here because you can simply dump the company into receivership. So there is no reason to be terribly careful here. So that's what we see. People are basically buying everything up that they can get. They're holding on to the shares, and maybe if it turns out that these are suitcase companies, they're selling them again. But usually there's nothing else you can buy, and that is also the reason why some people are sitting on less than the certificate limit. Because, why do you want to buy crap like this, which doesn't pay out, is in receivership? Maybe the certificate limit is too high. That is possible. So there was only on rare occasions was a thought process like, okay, so what do I sell something to get a better company or something like that? That was also, the case in very, very rarely the case. So what I want to say is basically there are nearly no decisions to make during the stock round. You buy what you can get, and that's it. Maybe I played it wrong or something, but I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, I played quite a bit of 18xx games now, and I don't see any reason why I should, why that should turn out in a different way. And yeah, that's kind of a shame, obviously. So that means it comes more or less purely down to the route building, which is interesting, which is fun for me. I enjoyed it. But especially then at the end of the game, which is no big surprise for 18xx games, right? But here it was a little more fatiguing. It went really, it becomes really boring, and it becomes really very, as I said, very exhausting, because every player is holding shares of every company, so you've got to pay out everyone, and the stock rounds take quite a while, and there's no interesting development anymore. The train rush is also pretty slow, especially at the beginning. It takes quite a while. First of all, the problem is that the companies get floated pretty slowly, because, well, you have to buy all 10 shares of a company before you can start the new company. And it's not enough just to buy 6 shares and then you can start buying shares of other companies. You got to go through the whole deck of certificates here. And that obviously leads to the point where you're not, where it becomes harder to start a lot of companies. In addition to that, the early trains are also really expensive. I mean, we're talking about 180 here for a 2 train, 300 for a 3 train. And as I said, the revenues are also not that amazing. The fact that you cannot use other people's or blocked stations, that really takes a while then until you start making a significant amount of money. So that slows down the game quite a bit. And yes, the train rush is pretty slow. And in addition to that, there are lots of trains there, right? You got, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 7 too. That's not terribly bad. But it's not like, okay, you got only 4 trains or something. Here you got still 6, 3. But I think there are also 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, okay, 5, 4 trains. But overall, you got more trains. Well, there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trains. So yeah, you can see, I mean, there are a lot of trains there. The 4 train is already permanent. So the slow train rush, a very slow-paced game. Stock round is totally uninteresting. So I can definitely see the critics of this game, and I can understand them quite a bit. Maybe if you don't play it solitaire but with more players, these kind of route building games might be a little more interesting, because you might see things that other players don't see, and then you might see some interesting solutions for the problems that you face on the map, and things. Yeah, as I said, that if you play solo, obviously you can only see so much, and so maybe it is a little more interesting if you play with more people. But at least if I host a game like this, I very soon start to feel bad if I see that other people, if the game drags on and if it's not super interesting, I get a bad conscience that I kind of present the people this game. So I probably will not necessarily suggest that to play. Although I would like to play it with others, there is no doubt. I would play that game again. I think it's not terrible, and yeah, I'm fine with playing that again. But you know, if that would not be for the collector's value, I think I would not buy it. There are definitely many other games out there that are better, even pure route building games. I think 25, I haven't played it yet, but I expect a lot from that, and I definitely want to do that. So I think that goes into the same direction, but is possibly more interesting. That looks at least more promising to me. And yeah, other games like 35, 60, you know, I think these are all kind of route building games, but they are definitely more interesting. At least the stock rounds make sense there, and that's the big issue here. Also 53, which feels in many ways similar. You know, you have a similar share price index. You cannot, you're not liable for your company. You can sell everything to the stock market, presidencies and all. You have also a manager for companies that are in receivership. So there's a lot of similarities. It's by the same designer, and but there are some interesting aspects. The fact that you can make jumps up to 5 spaces, for example, on the share trade, make that more dynamic. The fact that, well, the 2 different gauges in 53, I don't think they're terribly interesting. Actually, I kind of enjoyed the track building here more than in 53, to be honest. So yeah, it's hard to tell actually which one is better. I really like the track building aspect in this game, in the first half of the game. Okay, anyway, yeah, hope you got something out of this. So, as I said, if not for collector's value, I cannot really recommend the game. But then again, you know, if you enjoy 18xx and you get the chance to play it, it's an interesting experience to see really the, you know, I can now understand why people are talking about the 1830 and the 1829 branch. I really get it. I really do, you know. It's hard to actually see games that are more different in the 18xx genre than these two. They are the total opposite. And yeah, that is now really clear to me. Hope to see you on the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.